Hey everybody, Miss Camay here. I am your host on the Miss Camay Show, and I'm broadcasting live from the fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada today. And I have to tell you guys, my interview today is one that's highly anticipated. I think I've been waiting for this interview for about 6 years now, since I had my nephew live in the studio with me out in Bellevue when I was on KKNW. And so I want to give a warm welcome to my fabulous, amazing nephew, Shamir Azim. Welcome to the show, Taj.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I remember 6 years ago when I was interviewing your sister on the Miss Camay Show, and you came into the studio with her, and I think that was your first on-air appearance, your debut, I guess I would say. And you spent several weekends in the studio with me when I was in Washington on the air. We've had such an amazing relationship as aunt and nephew. And so tell people how old you are, what grade you're in, tell people a little bit about you, because people have been watching you from afar for all these years through my social media platforms, and they hear all about you. So let's hear from the gentleman himself. Tell us a little bit about you.
All right. My name is Taj, my middle name, but my full name is Shamir Azim. I'm 15 years old. I'm a gamer / content creator, and yeah, that's it right there. I have a fancy controller, so I'm pretty into it. But yeah, that's who I am.
What grade are you in?
I'm a freshman going to sophomore year.
Oh my gosh. I remember when I was a freshman, it was only like 8 years ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Taj, you and I were having a conversation just personally as family members the other day. And we were talking about the coronavirus. I am actually traveling to Washington. My husband and we are coming home after being away for so long. And that is what prompted me to actually bring you on the show. Right now, today in America, our youth, our young adults, young men, young women such as yourself, in your age group, that are in your grade, you guys are very vocal. You guys are the voice of our future. And you guys are actually speaking up across social media platforms, in the news. I have a platform, Teen Vogue, that I connect with, and they are extremely vocal about the things that are going on in our current climate today. And so I wanted to bring you on to the show and give you an opportunity to share your voice as the voice, or one of the voices, of our youth in America today. And so let's start with this. The coronavirus has happened. You guys shut down quite early. When did Washington State shut down? Do you remember?
Our schools, like we went to quarantine. Like the last day we had school was on March 12th. Right after that, when we had no school, and it was supposed to be April 24th until they canceled the whole year of school.
Now, did you have? Was there a student in your school who had tested positive for the coronavirus?
There definitely was. And the scary thing about that too is, like, you know someone for sure has it, you don't know how many others have it. So, and I go to a pretty big school. There's about 2,000 kids there. So it was just not safe. So I think it's really smart that they closed as soon as they could.
Right, to protect everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so at the time, did you really understand what was going on? I mean, I know you're pretty intelligent, but did you really understand, the severity of what was happening?
Well, I did understand, like, the reasoning for the school closing, because the virus is an airborne virus and it's just very easy to spread. There are people who are just not very educated on this type of stuff, and they don't know how to really, stop things like that from happening, from spreading around. So I think what they did, their decision was probably best.
Yeah.
I definitely go along with it.
Yeah.
But I remember it being confusing when we would have one day like school and the next thing you know, like a day off because someone around the area has the virus and they have to clean up the school. So
Sure.
it was just a very awkward time in my life. I've
Yeah.
never gone through anything like this, so it's all new to me.
Sure. Sure. So were you yourself concerned about, getting sick or catching, the coronavirus? Did you have those fears or concerns?
So a lot of my friends, they're definitely overthinking about it because social media, I feel like this kind of over exaggerated the whole thing. It made it a lot more scary than it really is. I was concerned, but once I, was educated on what it actually is, then I was actually a lot more comfortable and like, I wasn't as terrified. And also like I come from a family where we're very clean people and we always wash our hands very frequently. So I think I'm pretty safe. It's
Yeah.
just the people I'm around I have to be a little more careful. That's
Right.
really all I had to watch out for.
Right, exactly. So how did you feel when they announced that school was closing for the rest of the year? Did you think that was appropriate?
I think it was appropriate. My only, thing I was upset about is just I enjoyed freshman year. So I like really hate to see it go by that quickly. It was first year of high school and it was already over and I was like, well, yay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I think it was the best decision though, hands down.
Yeah. And
I think it
why
was
why
best.
why was it the best decision in your opinion?
Because if school is still open, for the rest of the year, I think the number will just keep going up. Like I said, our school is huge. There's 2,000 kids there, and a lot of them, like I said, are also educated on this type of thing. And people who just aren't really thinking about, what they're really doing, things can just keep getting worse and worse. And I felt like them closing actually made a big difference
Sure.
for sure.
Sure. Sure, sure. So, um how have you and your family kind of navigated around the virus? Can you share with us like how your other family members were impacted, like what happened like with their jobs and how you responded as a family?
hmm So my parents, my mom is in the furniture industry, and then my dad owns his own business. He owns a moving truck, and they work a good amount of hours. Like they work a lot, and they also didn't want to catch the virus because they're a little older, and they were definitely more scared than I was. So they became a lot more cautious and a little extra about it because social media, like I said it was over exaggerated. And I think when I told them about the whole thing, I showed them everything. They were kind of a little scared, like actually scared. So yeah, I'll give you an example. The other day, I came home from playing pool with my dad, and he makes us like put our phones on the table and he disinfects them like right before we even like use them again. So we wash our hands first thing when we get home.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we use our phone a lot. Like we're always touching our phone, so it's
Yeah.
good that we disinfect it.
Correct.
But yeah, they definitely been doing what I've been doing too. They're definitely, trying to be as clean as possible
Right.
and
And
well as well.
so how were their jobs affected by the coronavirus? Were their jobs affected as well?
So both of them didn't work for the couple months that we were in quarantine. My mom's job opened up like towards the end and they got like limited hours. But at her job they put up like window panes at each station. So for example, she's a sales rep. So at her computer desk, she has a glass window. So when her customer is like there's like, they're not really in contact at all. And
Right.
they're also required to wear masks. And then my mom wears gloves if she feels like she needs to. So
Yeah.
they're very cautious. And same thing with my dad's job. On every move he does, he wears a mask 100%. And then
Mm-hmm.
he'll wear gloves if he feels like he needs to. But yeah, pretty much all it is, mask and gloves.
Right, right. And so let's talk a little bit more about that because yesterday when we were talking, the issue of masks came up, and you
hmm
had a very strong opinion about it. And so share with our audience how you feel about the masks. Now, excuse me, in Washington as well as in Nevada, masks are not required by patrons or guests. Many retail establishments, as you shared with your mother's job, they are required to wear masks, and she wears gloves if she feels the need to. As well as here in Nevada, employees in most locations and most places that are open for business, they're actually wearing masks and or gloves, if not both, as well. And so, what's your opinion on it? How do you feel? Like, there are some people who just refuse to wear masks. There are people who don't want to wear the mask. There are people who talk about, it's uncomfortable. They don't like how they breathe in the mask, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, what's your opinion about it? What do you think?
So my opinion on the mask is that I think everything's opening up now. Malls are opening up, restaurants are opening up, everything's literally opening up. And from what I've been watching lately is the rates of the virus have been going up. And I feel like the people are coming in contact with it again. And I was at the mall a couple of days ago and I bought a pair of shoes. And the lady who was helping us out at the cash register wasn't wearing gloves and wasn't wearing a mask. So she was handling money with her bare hands and had no protection when she was in contact with people at all whatsoever. And I feel like masks should be required at every, job or every place, or it should be a curfew at that point, because I feel like masks are like a big way to prevent, you being in contact with the virus, along with gloves. So I think mask and gloves should be required 100%.
Yeah. And so I've found myself in the grocery store or in a store, and my husband and I wear masks when we go out, and I pass by people who don't have masks on, and I feel this sudden urge to say something to them about, why aren't you wearing a mask? Not just to protect myself, but to protect you. So have you had those experiences, like when you were dealing with the lady that was selling you your shoes? Did you feel almost kind of compelled to say something?
I wanted to say something, but I just kind of went along with it. But I've seen people at the mall literally shoot people with nasty looks when they're not wearing a mask. Like, there's this one whole family of people, they're all wearing masks, and then there's this one group of Asian people walking by, and they shot them a nasty look, not because they're Asian, but because they weren't wearing a mask, because they want to be protected. They don't want to come in contact with it. They want to be as safe as possible. So I've definitely had experience with that. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's it's a real thing.
Yeah. So what would you say to any other adult, any other young adult who is really taking the position that they don't want to wear a mask, that they don't think that it's going to make a difference, especially if they're, maintaining social distancing? What would you say to them?
I would say that be smart about what you're doing. Like, maybe you might not be as at risk as you are with other people, but not only that, you have to protect yourself and protect others. And wearing a mask with gloves is like the two of the biggest ways you can, protect yourself and protect others. It definitely reduces the chance of you catching the virus or others catching the virus. And if a mask is really uncomfortable, find other ways. There's, bandanas, there's other things you can do. We're all smart, we all have brains. We just gotta use them. All we gotta do.
That's right. So I think masks are so important. It definitely, minimizes the risk. I will also say to our audience and those who are watching, even though you're wearing gloves, there's a proper way to use gloves. And just because you have gloves on doesn't mean you don't have to use hand sanitizer, or you don't have to wash your hands. The hand washing and the hand sanitizer is something that should be implemented definitely without gloves and even with gloves. So just want to make that point clear. If you touch something, if you have gloves on and you touch something, you should sanitize your hands or wash them. If you, like you were saying, Taj, that we pick up our phone, right? And we're touching our phone. We're on our phones all the time. We're touching everything. We're touching our phone. So many germs can be transmitted or passed through our own cell phone, right?
Right.
So if you're wearing gloves, if you're not wearing gloves, definitely washing your hands and also using hand sanitizer will definitely minimize the risk as well. So make sure you understand how to properly wear and use your gloves during this time, for sure. I want to move on now to more of a, well, not more of an important topic, but another important topic in our conversation.
There you go.
So there's been a lot going on in the city of Seattle and downtown Seattle with peaceful protests recently. And you guys don't live in Seattle. You live a little bit further north, so you're not necessarily, hearing it or seeing it every day. But are you aware of the things that are going on downtown Seattle, the protests that are happening?
I'm very aware. I have friends who are participating in peaceful protests, and they are standing up with the movement, and they're using their voice. They're wanting to make a difference, because we are all very upset and very angry at what's happening outside of our roofs, and it's just a sad reality we live in, and we just can't live with that no more. It's not fair. It's not right.
Yeah. And you're referring to the murder of George Floyd, the recent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just the Black Lives Matter movement, all that.
Yeah, very, very important. So, let's share your perspective. I really want to hear your opinion and how you feel about the George Floyd situation and the police use of excessive force. Without getting into too much detail, of course, I don't want anything to be controversial in our interview, but I just want to hear your opinion. How do you feel? What's your opinion surrounding the protests as they relate to the murder of George Floyd?
So I feel like they're protesting for not only Black Lives Matter, but for police brutality. And I stand with that, because people who are, given those badges, those people just have more power than others. And I feel like those people aren't responsible with that much power given. And I feel like when someone has more power than other, they feel like they can do anything. They feel like they're the shit, basically. And it's not right. It's just not how it is, because we're all equal. We're all human beings, and we shouldn't, take someone else's life just because you can, pretty much. And that's how I feel about it. And it's really sad to think about it, because that's just not the human way. That's just not how we were made to be at all.
So there are some people on social media who feel, or it is their opinion, that George Floyd was a quote unquote career criminal, right? He committed crimes in the past and was allegedly in the act of committing a crime the day of his murder. And there are people who strongly believe that anyone who has committed a crime, or anyone that could potentially be labeled as a career criminal, essentially has no rights. There are people who have said, that George Floyd did not deserve the angel wings mural that was painted in his honor. There have been people who have said that he did not deserve, to be profiled in media, that he should have never had 3 funerals, that he should have never been buried in a gold casket. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about, the details about it, right?
Right.
And so I have a very strong opinion about humanity and everyone being treated as a human being and being respected. And feel very strongly about that, regardless of somebody's criminal background. And I have a little analogy that I want to share after I hear your opinion. But what would what are your opinions about that? The people saying, that George Floyd, deserved less or didn't deserve, what has happened. because of his, potential, background. What would you say about that?
Well, did he do bad things? Yeah, he probably made some bad choices in his life. At the end of the day, he isn't having less rights than anyone else. He shouldn't have any less rights just because he's committed crimes in his life. People who commit crimes daily, they still have the same rights. They do. And honestly, all of it, I feel like the reason why he was murdered, I don't think it was because he was a black man. I honestly don't believe that. I feel like it's because people who have those badges are just given so much power. And that's why I feel like that's the main cause of why he was killed. Because
Yeah,
that policeman had that much power. He was willing to do that. Nothing was stopping him.
right. And nothing was going to stop him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I see it as classic bullying behavior.
Hmm.
The definition of bullying, which workplace bullying is a huge platform of mine and has been for several years. And to
Hmm.
me, I see, yes, there's racism. Yes, definitely,
There
we
is, yeah.
are racism, every day. But it's classic bullying behavior. It's somebody who is taking their position of power and authority and abusing it.
Hmm.
And I mean, and the telltale signs of it are in that video of that police officer. I mean, you almost kind of basically described what I was seeing when I saw that video, that, I'm the police
Hmm.
officer and this is what I'm doing and who's going to do anything about it, kind of,
Right.
kind of a look. So, um, the whole career criminal aspect, I actually had a conversation with a young lady regarding that specific topic, and who felt very strongly, that people that commit crimes, are not no longer human, or they're not entitled to, other human rights that people who don't commit crimes are entitled to. And I use the scenario about speeding because anybody that knows me, who has known me for any length of time, knows that I have actually been ticketed for speeding, and have been ticketed for speeding many times over the last 30 years of me driving. And I could very easily be considered a quote unquote career criminal because of my speeding uh, past, I guess. And I even speed today. I don't know how many people do, but I definitely speed, and it's against the law. And
Right.
so anytime somebody knowingly, commits a crime, like the level of the crime or the degree of the crime, like, does it really matter? Are we really measuring the crime?
Right.
Because certainly, speeding isn't necessarily, you know, it's not judged as bad as somebody committing murder. But if we're looking at it from a, like a level playing field, like breaking the law is breaking the law, period. And so it is unfortunate that we are often judged from our past, right?
Hmm.
So what would you say to other young adults? Like I have conversations with you all the time, and I tell you, what you do today, you are going to be held accountable for tomorrow.
Hmm.
And, anything that happened yesterday is going to carry, forward with you into your future. So you have to take accountability and responsibility for the decisions that you're making, because we
Right.
live in a society that does that it
Hmm.
essentially will judge you from the things of your past. So what would you say to other young adults, about that topic? Or do you have anything to say about it at all?
Well, I'm only 15. I still have a lot more life left ahead of me, for those experiences. But for the ones who have, like, done stuff they shouldn't be doing, just be smart about it. I feel like you should do what's more beneficial towards you and towards your future, and what's going to make you most happy. That's like kind of the three things I kind of put into like my decisions in my life. But try to stay away from committing a crime. I think that's your best bet. It's just logically the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just can't see myself putting me in a position where I would commit a crime, and I don't see a benefit of doing such a thing, you know.
Right. Right. So, in closing, just to kind of wrap up what we've talked about, the peaceful protests that are going on.
Hmm.
Um, we have, people who are protesting. Like you said, you have some friends of yours who are actually protesting now.
Right.
And, unfortunately, there are, some other things that are happening on the same, in the same calendar as the peaceful protests. So, well, how do you feel about peaceful protesting? Do you think that it's a good idea, a bad idea? What's your take on the, the looting and the vandalism that's going on, kind of on the backside of the protests? And what do the protests mean to you? Like, I know you've seen them on social media. What does it mean to you as a young adult male? And you are a man of color. Your history and your nationality. Your father is from Pakistan, and your mother is Sicilian, Italian, and Hawaiian. So
Hmm.
you are a man of color. So what does it mean to you when you see it?
Um, well, I believe that we all believe the same blood. Therefore, we're all human beings, and therefore we shouldn't be treated differently because one person's a darker shade than the other, and so on. Doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what nationality you are, we're all equal. And I definitely go along with the Black Lives Matter movement. I definitely, support what people are protesting. What I don't support are the people who are taking advantage of the situation and are taking things from other people, from other companies, such as looting. I disagree with that 100%. And the people who are looting are people who have nothing to lose. It's mostly people who are homeless or people who are, broke, or that's just the reality of it. And I think that's stupid because, first of all, they're stupid for even doing that. I've seen on social media an Apple store being looted, and it was a post about the iPhone having a message saying, return the phone back to the store, the phone's being tracked. So it's like people, they're taking advantage of the situation. They're not really thinking about it. They're not supporting anything. The only thing they're supporting are their beneficial like selves. Like they're only wanting to benefit themselves pretty much.
Yeah.
And I disagree with that. I 100% don't go along with that. But I do stand with the Black Lives Matter movement. And if I was, able to, participate in a peaceful protest, I most certainly would. I would definitely want to stand up for what's right. 100%.
Do you think that people that are protesting peacefully, do you think that there's a risk to it? Do you think that they're risking their freedom, their life, risking possibly getting, shot by the police? Do you think there's risks to it?
There's definitely a risk in it. Like I said, those people wearing badges have more power than us. So just by giving command, they'll do what they gotta do, by whatever they're commanded to do. But I believe in saying what's right. I don't believe in being controlled. Having a lower value in society. I feel like we're all equal. We're all human beings. Why should we be treated differently just because one has more power than another? I don't believe in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a good interview. Such good
Yeah.
insight from such a young, intelligent man that is headed for greatness. I mean, with an aunt like me, who could expect anything less, right?
You're not wrong.
So, in closing, what message do you want to be heard today from Taj? For your schoolmates or your peers, or your parents, or maybe in a few years when you're job searching and going on a job interview and someone comes across this interview of you and I, what message does Taj want to share about humanity, about us all being equal and us all being treated the same? What do you want to say about
Well, one thing is one kind of analogy I can, put together. So if you think about a dog or a cat, there's different type of breeds, different types of, species, whatever. They're different colors, whatever. at the end of the day, a dog is still a dog, no matter if it's a German Shepherd or it's a Chihuahua, it's still a dog. I'm not saying we're like exactly, a dog, but at the same time, we're all the same species. We're all humans. And just because you're from a different nationality doesn't mean you should be treated any less or any greater. And I also do believe that people should be more mindful of others, to be more empathetic, but also should stand up for what's right and stand up for what they believe in, but have the understanding that we're all human beings. We all should be treated equally. We all bleed the same blood. We're not any different. We all
Yeah.
come from the same, genes, all of that. We're we all we all got hands, we all got feet. Maybe not, but at the end of the day, we all breathe oxygen. Like we're all the same. You get what I'm trying to say. But also, going back to what I'm saying, being more mindful, try to look at things from a different perspective, look at things from other people's perspectives so that you can be more educated on what's going on, so that you have more understanding. I feel like people aren't educated enough on what's really going on.
Yeah.
And when they really know what's happening, then that's when, you actually start making the decision to what to support. So first of all, educate yourself. That's what you should do.
Yeah, and to kind of expand on that point, your father comes from a different culture than your mother. And it's a learning experience, right? Your dad being from Pakistan, it has given our family an opportunity to learn a new culture, to learn the belief systems and the faith-based practices of their culture and their belief system, as well as it has given your father and his family members an opportunity to learn from your mother's side of the family and our American culture, and our faith-based practices and belief systems as well. So if we can come together as human beings, as humanity, and like you said, we've got German Shepherds and we've got, boxers and we have pit bulls and we have Pomeranians, but they're all the same species. We are all human beings. Yep. And we can learn from each other. We can embrace each other. We can, have compassion and empathy within our hearts as humans. And really be open to learning about the different species of human beings. Such a great point, Taj. Thank you so much for making that and closing out this great interview with me. I so appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know I've interrupted your gaming time to get your perspective on the things that are going on. So I'm so grateful and so appreciative. I will see you in a few days. We are on our way to Seattle this weekend. It's my husband's birthday, so we will be celebrating with friends and family in Seattle. We're so very excited. Can't wait to see you, Boo. I love you so much. Have a great day.
You too, Meme.
We'll see you soon. Have a great day. I love you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I stopped recording.